My husband kissed me goodbye before he left. I never realized it was forever. The laptop screen was the only light in the apartment. When Claire Bennett watched the video for what felt like the 100th time, her knees pulled up against her chest, a glass of wine gone warm, and untouched on the desk beside her. On the screen, frozen mid-sentence, was her husband, Ryan, dark hair slightly messy. That half smile he always wore right before he said something he thought was funny, his eyes soft in the particular way they only ever got when he looked at her. She'd watched this same 12-second clip so many times now that she'd stopped hearing the words and started simply watching his mouth move, memorizing the shape of it, trying to hold on to something that felt like it was slipping further away every single day. It had been 6 weeks since Ryan died. 6 weeks since a routine business trip to Denver had ended not with him walking back through their front door the way he had 100 times before, but with a phone call at 11:47 p.m. from a hospital number she didn't recognize, a doctor's voice explaining, gently, that there had been an aneurysm, sudden and unpredictable, that there was nothing anyone could have done, that he hadn't suffered. Claire had not believed any of it. Not really, not even now. Some part of her still expected to hear his key in the door. 3 days before he died, Ryan had called her on a video chat from his hotel room, the way he always did on business trips, sitting cross-legged on a stiff hotel bedspread, with room service menus scattered around him, laughing about some ridiculous client meeting that had run 2 hours longer than it should have. "I miss you," he'd said near the end of the call, his voice softening the way it always did in those last few seconds before hanging up. "I know it's only been 2 days, but I miss you like it's been 2 years. You're ridiculous." Claire had laughed, though her chest had ached with the same feeling. 3 more days, come home soon. "I will," he'd said. And then, almost as an afterthought, something he said at the end of nearly every call, so ordinary she'd never once thought to treasure it. "Love you. Talk tomorrow." He'd blown a small kiss toward the camera, the kind of gesture that felt silly and small in the moment, the kind you do without thinking, because you assume there will always be a tomorrow to do it again. There hadn't been a tomorrow. The aneurysm happened the following night. In his sleep, quietly, without warning, 3 days before he was supposed to walk back through their front door. That 12-second clip, the blown kiss, the soft, "love you, talk tomorrow," was the last video Claire had of him. She'd screen recorded it without even realizing why at the time. A habit from wanting to save something silly he'd said about the hotel's terrible coffee. She hadn't known, in that ordinary moment, that she was recording a goodbye. Claire's sister, Meg, had been staying with her most nights since the funeral. Worried about the hollow, distant look Claire wore now. Worried about the way she'd started sleeping with the laptop open on the nightstand. Worried about the video playing on a loop late into the night, over and over. Claire searching Ryan's face for some sign, some warning, something she should have noticed. "You have to stop watching it like this," Meg said gently one evening, finding Claire again at the desk. The same frozen frame glowing on the screen. "It's not going to give you an answer, Claire." There wasn't a warning. That's what makes it so cruel. It just happened. "I keep thinking if I watch it enough times, I'll notice something," Claire admitted, her voice raw. "Some sign I missed. Something that would have told me to get on a plane that night, instead of going to sleep like it was any other Tuesday." "There wasn't anything to notice," Meg said softly, sitting beside her sister, taking her hand. "You didn't miss a warning, Claire. There wasn't one to miss. That's the truth. Even though it's the hardest one to accept." Claire knew, somewhere beneath the grief, that Meg was right. But knowing something logically and believing it emotionally were two very different things. And grief, she was learning, didn't care much for logic. Ryan's mother, Diane, called the following week, her own voice still thick with grief, asking gently if Claire had found the letter yet. "What letter?" Claire asked, confused. "Ryan mentioned something to me, a few months before." "Before everything," Diane said carefully. "He'd started writing you letters sometimes when he traveled. Said he liked the idea of leaving something behind. That wasn't just texts that disappear in a scroll. He kept a little notebook in his desk drawer at the office. I don't know if you've been through it yet." Claire hadn't. She hadn't been able to bring herself to touch Ryan's desk at all. The small home office where his coffee mug still sat, half finished, exactly where he'd left it. The morning he flew to Denver. That night, for the first time since the funeral, Claire opened the drawer. Inside was a simple leather notebook, worn soft at the edges, filled with Ryan's handwriting, messy, slanted, unmistakably his. Dozens of entries, dated across nearly 3 years, most of them short, written during business trips or quiet evenings when Claire had already gone to bed. Little observations, little confessions. Things he'd apparently never said out loud, tucked instead into pages meant. It seemed for exactly this kind of moment, though neither of them could have known that at the time. One entry, dated just 2 weeks before he died, stopped her breath entirely. Sometimes I think about what I'd want Claire to know, if something ever happened to me, not because I expect it to, but because life doesn't ask permission before it changes everything. I'd want her to know that loving her was the easiest, most natural thing I ever did. That every ordinary Tuesday with her felt like something worth being grateful for. That if I ever have to say goodbye without meaning to, I hope she knows I spent every single day we had genuinely, completely happy. I hope she doesn't spend whatever time she is left afraid of losing things. I hope she keeps living loudly, the way she always has, even without me, standing next to her doing it. Claire sat on the floor of Ryan's office for a long time after reading that, the notebook pressed against her chest, crying in a way that felt different from the crying of the past 6 weeks. Not just grief, but something gentler underneath it. Something almost like comfort, finding its way in through the cracks. In the weeks that followed, Claire began to change. Slowly, the way healing actually happens, not in one dramatic turning point, but in small, quiet decisions repeated daily. She stopped watching the 12-second video every night, though she kept it saved, safe. Something to return to occasionally, rather than something to drown in. She started going back to the running trail she and Ryan used to walk together on weekends, first alone, then eventually with Meg, then eventually with a small group of women from her building, who'd noticed her outside one morning, and simply started walking beside her without asking too many questions. She read Ryan's notebook slowly, one entry every few days, rationing it the way you ration something precious you don't want to run out of too quickly. Each entry felt like another small conversation with him, another piece of the ordinary, extraordinary life they'd built together, preserved in a way she hadn't known to hope for. 6 months after Ryan's death, Claire finally watched the 12-second video again, not out of desperation this time. Not searching for a warning she'd never find, but simply because she missed him, and some days, missing someone is its own kind of tribute. "Love you," Ryan said on the screen, the small kiss blown toward the camera exactly the way it always had been. "Talk tomorrow." "Talk tomorrow," Claire whispered back quietly, to an apartment that had slowly, painfully, begun to feel like home again instead of a museum of grief. "I love you too, every day." Still, a year later, Claire started a small, private blog, not for followers, not for attention, but because Meg had gently suggested that writing might help the way the notebook had helped her understand Ryan. She wrote about grief, about the strange, nonlinear shape of it, about the way an ordinary Tuesday video call had become the most precious 12 seconds of footage she owned. She wrote eventually about the notebook, about the entry that had changed the way she carried her own sadness, about learning slowly, imperfectly, to keep living loudly, exactly the way Ryan had asked her to, even without him standing beside her doing it. She never expected anyone to read it. But grief, it turned out, connects people in ways joy sometimes can't, and slowly, quietly, other people who'd lost someone suddenly, without warning, without a proper goodbye, began finding her words and recognizing pieces of their own unfinished conversations inside them. Claire kept Ryan's notebook on her nightstand. Not the laptop anymore, not the frozen video clip, glowing blue in a dark room. Some nights, she still cried. Some nights she still reached for the empty side of the bed out of pure habit before remembering. But she'd learned, slowly, that his final goodbye hadn't really been the 12-second video at all. It had been every ordinary day before it, the ones neither of them had known to treasure at the time, simply because they'd assumed, the way everyone does, that there would always be another Tuesday to say it all again. The end. The end.